Las Vegas, a city where fortunes can change in the blink of an eye. A single moment can bring immense wealth or leave someone with nothing. But some refuse to rely on luck alone. They take matters into their own hands, even if it means resorting to crime. A ruthless gang of criminals sets its sights on the glittering casinos, pulling off a series of high-stakes heists. With every robbery, they amass thousands of dollars while leaving a bloody trail in their wake. Their reckless ambition and disregard for human life make them a serious threat. Law enforcement has no choice but to act swiftly. Both the Las Vegas police and the FBI are under pressure to hunt down the criminals before they strike again. But these robbers are no ordinary thieves. They are cold-blooded, calculating, and willing to do whatever it takes to evade capture. It all sounds like the plot of a Hollywood action film. Armed criminals storm into casinos, overpowering guards and making off with bags of cash. But this isn't fiction. It's the terrifying reality of a criminal mastermind and his crew who are prepared to pull the trigger without hesitation. I'm a former FBI field office director in New York, and I remember this case all too well. With each daring heist, the gang grew bolder, their methods more violent. The FBI was determined to put an end to their bloody rampage. Las Vegas, Nevada, September 20th, 1998. Just before noon, at the MGM Grand Hotel and Casino, an armored truck is parked outside, waiting for a cash delivery. Two armed couriers, escorted by casino security, carry a fortune from inside the casino toward the transport vehicle. Suddenly, chaos erupts. "Don't move." Two armed men rush toward the couriers, stripping them of their weapons before grabbing 3 money bags filled with $350,000. Within seconds, they disappear through a side exit. The Las Vegas police and the FBI arrive at the scene in record time. Witnesses give investigators a general description of the attackers. "Any distinctive features?" an officer asks. "No," one witness replies hesitantly, "but I'm sure they were both Latino." The criminals leave no physical evidence behind. Investigators recover 2 semi-automatic weapons, but no fingerprints, no DNA, nothing that can directly identify them. However, the MGM Grand, like all major casinos in Las Vegas, has an extensive surveillance system. The FBI agents begin combing through the footage. "I need the tapes," Special Agent Henry demands. As they analyze the recordings, something stands out. The gang's leader wields his weapons in an unusual way, holding a pistol in each hand, moving with a level of confidence that suggests he has no hesitation about using them. "It's rare to see someone handle 2 guns like that," one agent observes. "It tells us he's extremely dangerous." While reviewing the casino's external surveillance footage, investigators track the robbers' escape route. They spot the criminals sprinting across the street, heading toward a nearby hotel, San Remo. The footage captures them climbing into a waiting pickup truck, where a driver is already prepared for a quick getaway. Despite having the vehicle on tape, the case hits a frustrating roadblock. The video quality isn't good enough to make out the license plate. The footage was too grainy, FBI Special Agent Sel Nishimoto recalls. "We managed to make out the first 3 digits, but the rest was unreadable, armed with only a vague description." The police begin searching for the getaway vehicle, but it seems to have vanished without a trace. For nearly 2 months, the investigation stalls. Leads run dry and frustration mounts. Then, suddenly, a breakthrough. A police officer patrolling the San Remo hotel parking lot notices a vehicle that matches the description of the getaway truck. Even more compelling, the numbers on its license plate partially match those captured on casino surveillance footage. Had the criminals grown careless? Or had they simply assumed the police had given up? The detective immediately checks the vehicle's VIN. It turns out the truck had been reported stolen 3 months before the MGM Grand heist. Further investigation reveals that the license plates were taken from a wrecked car left at a Las Vegas storage facility. The police question the manager of the storage facility. "Do you know anything about the theft?" An officer asks. The manager shrugs. "No idea," he replies, suggesting they speak with the on-site security guard, who lives on the property. But when the detectives ask to speak with the guard, he refuses to come forward. Days turn into weeks, and despite their best efforts, the investigation begins to lose momentum once again. Months later, the criminals strike again, this time with deadly consequences. June 1999, 9 months after the MGM Grand Heist. At the Desert Inn Casino, a routine cash transfer is about to take place. An armored truck pulls up to collect the casino's earnings, just as it does every day. But today is different. Two armed men appear out of nowhere. One of the guards inside the truck is shot in the arm before he even has a chance to react. His partner returns fire but is immediately hit. 3 bullets strike his leg, sending him crashing to the ground. The guards do their best to fight back. Their training kicks in, and they aim for the attacker's chests. But there's a problem. These criminals are wearing bulletproof vests. "You got this," one of the injured guards shouts as his partner drags himself into the safety of the armored vehicle. "Go! Go!" The driver slams on the gas, speeding toward the nearest hospital. Both guards survive, but the robbers have made their escape, with tens of thousands of dollars. Within minutes, Las Vegas police and FBI agents swarm the Desert Inn. Witnesses describe the getaway vehicle, a light-colored SUV. Immediately, patrol units scan the streets, searching for any sign of it. This was an incredibly aggressive robbery, an investigator later recalls. These guys had no hesitation about using their weapons. At the crime scene, officers collect spent shell casings from the ground. A few are found where the guard was shot, while others are scattered around the entrance. Evidence of the gunfight that erupted as the criminals made their escape. The MGM Grand robbery and the Desert Inn heist appear to be connected. The suspects in both cases seem to have similar tactics and weapons. But there's one crucial difference. During the MGM Grand robbery, they ambushed the couriers inside the casino, Special Agent Brad Shields notes. At the Desert Inn, they went for the entire armored truck, a much bolder move. Then, just 10 minutes after arriving at the crime scene, Agent Beasley receives a call. The getaway vehicle has been found. A patrol officer, scanning the area for suspicious cars, spots the SUV parked outside a small roadside motel. The agent rushes to the location, opening the car door carefully. Inside, he makes a chilling discovery. Spent shell casings litter the floor. A .45 caliber casing sits on the dashboard, a silent reminder of the violence that unfolded just moments earlier. But that's not all. Investigators also recover an empty water bottle, hoping to extract DNA evidence from it. In the motel parking lot, agents question a witness, an older man walking his dog. "I saw them switch cars," he says, pointing toward the lot. He describes the scene in detail. One of the robbers tosses a duffel bag into the bed of a pickup truck. It lands with a heavy clank, probably filled with weapons. 2 of the men jump into the front seats, while the third struggles with the ignition. "What's wrong?" one asks impatiently. "The key's not working," the driver curses, fumble with the lock. "Just hotwire it." The witness watches as they work frantically under the steering column, try and get the truck started. Eventually, the engine roars to life, and the men speed away. One thing puzzles investigators. Why do they have to hotwire their own getaway car? Something wasn't right, an agent later recalls. If they had planned to switch vehicles here, the truck should have been ready. But instead, they were struggling to start it. Then, a discovery clarifies everything. Just a few feet away, agents find another truck, identical in make and model to the one the criminals drove off in. They must have gotten confused, an officer mutters. Upon closer inspection, they notice something strange. The second truck has a fake license plate attached with rubber bands. The criminals had accidentally climbed into the wrong vehicle, forcing them to hotwire their own truck. Checking the VIN number, investigators uncover a lead. The truck is registered to a former convict named Pedro Duarte. Forensic experts dust the fake license plate for fingerprints. The results come back quickly. The prints belong to Pedro Duarte himself. The FBI now has a name. Could Duarte be part of this violent gang? And if so, how many more are out there? There's only one way to find out. The agents head straight to Duarte's home, hoping to question him before he disappears. The FBI wastes no time. With Pedro Duarte's fingerprints linking him to the fake license plate, agents head straight to his home to question him. They arrive at his residence, knock on the door, and wait. No answer. They knock again, harder this time. Still nothing. Duarte, an officer calls out. We need to ask you some questions. Silence. The agents exchange looks. Either he's not home, or he's choosing not to answer. A quick background check reveals something interesting. Duarte isn't just any ex-convict. He has ties to another man already on the FBI's radar, Jose Vigoa. A decade earlier, in 1990, the FBI had been investigating Jose Vigoa, a Cuban immigrant with a history of drug smuggling. During a raid on a storage unit he was renting, Vigoa attempted to flee, nearly running down an agent with his car. This guy was dangerous, one of the agents recalls. He had no hesitation about hurting people. All he cared about was himself. Inside Vigoa's storage unit, authorities found a scale covered in cocaine residue and his fingerprints all over the place. The evidence was enough to convict him of drug trafficking and assaulting a federal officer. Vigoa was sentenced to 6 years in prison. But now he was out. And Pedro Duarte? He wasn't just an acquaintance. He was Vigoa's brother-in-law. That connection changed everything. Investigators began piecing the puzzle together. The MGM Grand, Desert Inn, and other casino robberies weren't just random acts of violence. They were all part of a well-planned, highly coordinated operation led by a criminal gang, and Vigoa was their mastermind. But knowing this and proving it in court were two different things. The FBI needed solid evidence linking Vigoa to the crimes. They decided to take an indirect approach by questioning Vigoa's parole officer. The next day, agents met with her and showed her surveillance footage from the MGM Grand and Mandalay Bay heists. She watched closely, studying the grainy images. Then she paused the tape. "That's him," she said without hesitation. "That's Jose Vigoa." Finally, the FBI had a direct identification. This was their breakthrough. But Vigoa wasn't just any criminal. He was smart, experienced, and paranoid. He wouldn't go down without a fight. Agents put him under 24/7 surveillance, monitoring his every move. At first, Vigoa seemed like just another man trying to get by. He worked for a storage facility, earning a modest salary of $200 a week. His living conditions were modest. He rented a small shack on the property, but something wasn't adding up. A deep dive into his finances revealed a shocking discovery. Just weeks after the MGM Grand heist, Vigoa had purchased a house in cash, $190,000, all of it paid up front. There was no way he could afford that on his salary. Even more suspicious, the house wasn't his name. The FBI traced the purchase to a man named Oscar Cisneros, another name that kept popping up in the investigation. It was clear that Vigoa was using Cisneros as a front man to hide his money. The FBI finally had Vigoa cornered, but there was still one problem. Having money didn't prove he committed the robberies. They needed undeniable evidence: DNA, fingerprints, or an eyewitness. For now, the investigation stalled. Then, 3 months later, everything changed. A crime so brutal that it left law enforcement with no choice but to act. March 3rd, 2000, Henderson, Nevada, just outside Las Vegas. A routine cash pickup turns into a bloodbath. A Loomis armored truck pulls up outside a Ross Dress for Less store. Inside, 2 security guards follow their usual procedure. One remains in the truck while the other steps out to collect a deposit. What happens next is pure chaos. As the guard walks back toward the truck, 3 armed men suddenly appear from between 2 parked minivans. "Don't move," one of them shouts, guns raised. But the guard isn't about to surrender. He draws his weapon and fires. His bullet hits one of the attackers in the knee. Before he can react further, a third gunman, one the guards hadn't even seen, opens fire. The guard is killed instantly. The attackers turn their guns on the driver. Bullets rip through the truck's windshield. The driver doesn't stand a chance. Both guards are dead. In seconds, the gunmen grab the cash bags, just $50,000, and flee the scene in a tan sedan. The crime is over, but the fallout is just beginning. By the time law enforcement arrives, the scene is horrific. Blood stains the pavement. Witnesses stand in shock, many still frozen in fear. Some heard the gunfire, but didn't see what happened. Others caught glimpses of the shooters. One person saw the getaway car speeding off. Another remembers the exact moment the guard was shot. Piece by piece, the FBI reconstructs the attack. At 11:15 a.m., the armored truck arrives at the store. The security guard enters, retrieves the money, and heads back to the truck. That's when the robbers strike. The guard's quick reaction changes everything. If he hadn't fired, they might have let him live. But once he injured one of them, their plan turned into a full-blown execution. This wasn't just a robbery, an investigator later recalls. This was a murder. The level of violence is staggering. Hundreds of rounds were fired in broad daylight, in front of dozens of witnesses. Everything about the attack matches the previous heists. The tactical approach, waiting for the guard outside. The firepower, multiple gunmen, heavy weaponry. The calculated aggression, no hesitation to kill. The same criminals who hit the MGM Grand, Desert Inn, and Mandalay Bay had just escalated to cold-blooded murder. But the robbers made one big mistake. The getaway driver was wounded, and that single fact would lead to their downfall. Just hours after the robbery, the FBI makes a crucial discovery. The getaway car has been abandoned. Agents rush to the scene. Inside, they find bloodstains on the driver's seat. One of the criminals was definitely injured, just as the witness described. A forensic specialist collects blood samples from the seat and floor. If the FBI can extract DNA, they might finally have an unshakable lead. Meanwhile, investigators trace the car's license plate. It was stolen from a rental car lot. The crime scene holds no direct evidence pointing to a specific suspect. But the blood inside the car? That's solid proof. And the FBI is about to use it to hunt down the killers. With 2 security guards dead and a violent gang still on the loose, the FBI knows they have no time to waste. The blood sample recovered from the getaway car is rushed to the lab for DNA analysis. If they can match it to a suspect, they will finally have an indisputable link to the crime. But the gang isn't finished yet. 3 months later, June 3rd, 2000, Las Vegas, Bellagio Hotel and Casino. It's early morning. Casino employees are inside the counting room, tallying up the night's earnings. Suddenly, armed robbers storm in. On the ground. Now! One of them shouts, pointing a gun at the terrified workers. They force the employees into a corner and start emptying the cash drawers. In minutes, they stuff over $150,000 into their bags. But this time, they're not done yet. They want more. Their next target? A currency exchange booth inside the casino. As they move toward it, an employee manages to escape and run for help. A casino security officer monitoring the surveillance cameras spots the incident and zooms in on the robbers. "Attention! Armed robbery in progress," he shouts into his radio. The gang flees through a back exit, making their way to their getaway car. What they don't realize, casino security is following them. Security officers quickly relay the make, model, and license plate of the getaway vehicle to the police. But as soon as the robbers notice they're being pursued, they react instantly. Gunshots ring out. One bullet grazes the security vehicle's tire, forcing them to back off. The gang escapes once again. The Bellagio security team hands over the surveillance footage to the FBI. This time, the agents have an advantage. They already have a strong suspect, Jose Vigoa. They show the footage to Vigoa's parole officer, hoping she can confirm their suspicion. She watches the screen, carefully studying one of the robbers. "That's him," she says firmly. "That's Jose Vigoa." The FBI finally has a positive identification. Now, they can move forward with an arrest warrant. But there's just one problem. Vigoa isn't the type to surrender. The agents know that when they go after him, they'll need to be ready for A, with a confirmed identification and an arrest warrant in hand. The FBI prepares to take down Jose Vigoa once and for all. But they know one thing for sure. He won't go quietly. FBI Special Agent Brad Shields recalls the moment the plan was set in motion. "We spotted his car. We blocked him in. SWAT was ready. We knew if we didn't get this right, people could die. The operation is swift. FBI, step out of the vehicle." Vigoa doesn't hesitate. He slams on the gas. With precision driving, he weaves through the police blockade, barely squeezing past a SWAT truck. The chase is on. For miles, Vigoa pushes his car to its limits, reaching 100 miles per hour, 160 kilometers per hour, on city streets. Then he loses control. His car veers off the road and slams into a tree. But Vigoa isn't done yet. He jumps out and runs. He leaps over fences, dashes through backyards, desperate to escape. But the SWAT team is right behind him. And this time he doesn't make it. Agents tackle him to the ground, handcuffing him as he shouts and struggles. His arrogance still intact, he sneers. "You got nothing on me. I run the city." But the FBI does have something on him. And soon he'll never run again. Justice served. With Vigoa in custody, the FBI moves quickly to take down his entire crew. They arrest Pedro Duarte, the gang's getaway driver, and Luis Suarez, their fourth accomplice, who had been hiding in Florida. The last remaining suspect, Oscar Cisneros, is already in jail. But before he can stand trial, he takes his own life in his cell. His death weakens the prosecution's case, but it doesn't stop it. Forensic experts confirm that DNA from the crime scenes, ballistics from the weapons, and fingerprints on stolen money all lead back to Vigoa and his men. In the fall of 2003, after a 5-year crime spree, the gang finally faces justice. Luis Suarez pleads guilty to armed robbery and is sentenced to 6 to 15 years in prison. Pedro Duarte is convicted of attempted murder and receives 16 to 70 years behind bars. Jose Vigoa, to avoid the death penalty, admits to 2 counts of murder, multiple armed robberies, and other violent crimes. His sentence? Life in prison without parole, the legacy of a crime wave. The capture of Vigoa and his crew is a major victory for law enforcement. This wasn't just an FBI case, Special Agent Shields later says. This was a joint effort between the FBI, the Henderson Police Department, and the Las Vegas Metropolitan Police. The case left its mark on Las Vegas history. 2 innocent security guards lost their lives. Casino employees and bystanders lived through terrifying moments of gunfire and chaos. The city's law enforcement agencies were forced to adapt. Casinos increased security, armored truck procedures changed, and criminals were put on notice. Las Vegas wasn't an easy target anymore. And if anyone dared to try something similar, law enforcement would be ready, because the house always wins.